22 times less than what his or her private sector counterpart would pay for the same health care with a higher deductible.
People will go into healthy San Francisco and they will end up being a burden on the Department of Public Health when they cannot stop paying the health plan based on what Measure B puts together.
Actually, the cost of healthy San Francisco, I just found this out the other day, would be exactly the same, $249 for an employee and a dependent than it would be in the Proposition B.
And all of us who are taxpayers of the city and homeowners would be paying for that.
Okay, now I'm going to take a couple more. What time is it? I don't know.
9 o'clock.
9 o'clock?
3 to 9.
Okay, we usually go to 9:30. But if you guys get tired, just you have the prerogative to stop. Just I see the gentleman in the striped shirt has been very patient.
So it's amazing how two really eloquent, educated people read the same four sentences and call each other liars. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to ask yes or no questions. And just yes or no, because Mr. Paulson, I've heard you switch in the course of 2 sentences from calling Mr. Adachi a liar to saying that there are people in the system who are not paying for their retirement benefits. Yes or no, your job is on the line. Are there people in the system who are not paying for their benefits? You said yes. So I just want to make sure you did say yes. Because first you called Mr. Adachi a liar, and then you said yes or no. So yes or no?
I didn't call him a liar. I just said that his piece was not true. People are out
Are
talking
there,
about...
yes or no? Are there people that are not paying?
Yes.
Okay, fine. Second question. I keep reading about this mythical $44,000 a year nurse with 2 kids that's paying $8,000 for medical care. How many people are actually on that plan that asks them to pay that much money?
Not everybody is on that.
How many people, do you know?
Off the top of my head, there's thousands.
272.
According to the Examiner, that's a number that did come out. There are
300?
more than that.
300? 400?
I wrote that piece,
28,000?
and that number is from the health service system.
Okay, so let's say there are 272 people paying at that top level. They're not making $44,000 a year. Is that true or not? They're making much more. Because if I was making $44,000 a year, I wouldn't be paying $10,000 for my insurance.
There are people on that plan, and that is one of the examples of what Measure B is going to do.
Is there a person on that plan who's making $44,000 a year?
Well, I want to step in. You know, a couple questions. It's not like an
It's
interrogation.
just 2 questions.
I know, but I also want Mr. Adachi to be able to.
There are people that are making in the high 40s that do get on that system. I don't have those exact numbers in front of me.
Mr. Adachi, do you have anything? Okay. The woman in the red, straight back, Nancy Warble.
I was intrigued with the idea, Mr. Paulson, that you... Can I speak now? I was intrigued, Mr. Paulson, that you were negotiating with your union, with the elected representatives. And there's another person that you need to think about, which is me, the taxpayer. We are the underwriters of everything that happens down at City Hall. And I want to ask a question about what are you going to do to get us off the hook eventually for the bankruptcy that you never answered that man's question. But we're going to be headed for some very serious financial times. It's called actuarials. There are insurance companies that spend their whole life trying to figure out how to game the system. Well, we've got people in this room that understand that the bill is going to come, and it's coming to me, the taxpayer. I want you to look me in the eye and tell me, what are you going to start voluntarily giving up in the unions so that there is a job for your people, and there is a reasonable tax on my bill, so that I'm not going to just shut you down.
I'm just going to tell you, the labor unions in San Francisco have collaborated. The people who make this city work have been sitting at the bargaining table, it seems like almost every year, to do what they need to do to save city services and jobs. And I give them a tremendous amount of credits. There's what are there, 20? I think there's 26 different unions that that work in the different departments here in town. And I'm going to tell you, I give you our word, and I think our actions speak for themselves. we sit down with the employer, which is the city and county of San Francisco, to make sure that we are going to keep this city running. That is what our goal is.
What is the voluntary give that you are going to give to me, Nancy? What are you going to give me, and you're going to promise me right here today
I'm a city-
that you're not going to goose behind? I want to see it right now, because that's the kind of anger you're hearing.
That's not how government works.
Well, then that's my answer, is that I'm not part of the game, I'm just getting the bill. Thank you.
The gentleman with his hand up, yes.
Okay, one question I have is that from 1996 to 2002,
I'm sorry, we
from
can't hear you.
1996 to 2002, the city did not contribute to the retirement system. And during that time, I'm also wondering if there weren't cuts in services at that time. Because cuts in services there doesn't seem to be a correlation between cuts in services and the pension system itself. The cuts in services have been going on at least for 2 decades with privatization of city services. So I'm wondering about the correlation.
I can take a stab at that. San Francisco has a structural problem in its budget, and that's why we've had deficit year after year after year. So this isn't a new problem. Our pension problem has been around for at least 5 years, and we know that it's growing every year. How do we know that? Because year after year, we get the bill. And the same thing on the healthcare side. We know that this is happening, so it's not speculation that this is occurring. It's occurring each and every day. The question is, what are we going to do about it? And that's really what this comes down to. Tim says, hey, we'll work it out. Hey, there's been, I think, what, a committee going on for like 5 years to solve this pension problem. Nothing has happened. And, you know, if you keep on doing the same thing again and again and again and expect different results, that's crazy. So that's why Proposition B, by requiring all city, very modest, requiring all city, doesn't take away the pension, doesn't take away the benefit, but just requires city employees to pay not even a fair share. It goes from extravagantly wonderful, generous benefits for city employees, instead just wonderful, generous benefits for city employees.
The thing that's so funny about it, and I know that some people want to get into the weeds, and I don't know how deeply we can get into it here, but say Measure B passes. If there is an employee that puts more money on his or her behalf into the pension system, whatever the amount of numbers are based on what's going on, since there are so many people that do not work for the city and county more than 5 years, there's an argument that is made, and it's been looked at by our actuaries, that basically says the city's going to actually be liable for even more funds in the pension fund, because when you leave the city and county and you do not vest, you get that money to take back with you. So there will actually be a higher liability, actuarial liability to the city and county of San Francisco if the employee, he or she, puts their money into the system.
Yeah.
So I mean, these issues are complicated. That's why it's so bad that, you know, what was probably a great intention by Mr. Adachi is just so badly put together. It does not, Measure B does not do what Mr. Adachi says it's going to do. It doesn't bring in that type of money. It attacks health care. It's not pension funds. And there are numbers that don't jive with what is being said. And what was done during the paid signature drive, it wasn't done voluntarily. There was a paid signature drive that they scrambled in at the last minute, saying we're going to save the schools and whatever else. They put it forward. I just really think that this is the wrong way to do things. So I hear the concerns of those of you in the room. Believe me, I do. But there's a process in which this stuff happens, and this is the wrong way to do it. And again, there's a reason why Willie Brown and Jeff Adachi are damn near the only two people that have anything to do with elected office that support it.
Thank you. And I'm going to take 2 more questions and then. Yes.
Sorry. You know, what Mr. Paulson just said, his concern about city employees putting more money into the pension than what it's worth, let me tell you, that never happened. We actually calculated how much a private sector employee would have to sock away in order to have the pension that city employees get, you would have to put away 65% of your entire paycheck for 30 years in order to have the amount of funding necessary to draw what a city employee draws on his or her pension.
Okay, thank you. I know. There's a gentleman that's been waiting very patiently. Dennis.
Hi, Dennis Moscovian. I'm a native San Franciscan, and I find that I'm going to make a short preface, then I have a question, but specifically for Mr. Adachi. I find this debate unusual in that the debate is not around what has happened to our nation, our economy in the last few years. It's not about looking at the context of what has brought us to where we are today. It's a focus that is, you see it in the media across the country. It's public employees being attacked by the public at large. And I think, this is just a preface, then I'll ask my question. I think what's happening is we're forced into this situation because cities and states can't run deficits, but the federal government can run a deficit so big that none of us can imagine it. I mean, it's beyond, and it's all loaned to banks, and the banks collect our money, and then the states and the municipalities don't get the money back that we're supposed to get. So we end up in a situation in which we focus on who can we attack, where can we take down the money, and it's happening everywhere. We're finding healthcare is getting more and more expensive despite the effort to establish a healthcare system, and now this is going to do exactly that same thing. Because what you didn't talk about, and this is where the question's going, Jeff, you didn't talk about what the impact is on the bulk of the city employees who make $60,000 or less. As I'm a retired union worker, I never made more than $50,000 in my entire life, and my pension stinks. But I paid into it, and I'm very happy that I got it, and I got Social Security. So in the course of doing this, why did you choose to do this blanket sort of thing that attacks the healthcare costs of workers who have dependents, children, and spouses and that sort of thing, instead of going after, say, the people that you like to quote, because when you look at your numbers really refer to the people who are making very high six-figure salaries. So why did you focus in such a way that the big impact is going to be on the bulk of the workers in San Francisco who make a lot lower wages than firefighters and cops and who can't spike their stuff? They don't have that capacity. Clerks and all of the variety of other city workers don't have that capacity to do what that $518,000 cop did, which is to spike his income and then retire and get out with a $250,000 income. I don't know anybody, and I've worked in this city, I'm a retiree, I'm 70 years old, I know a ton of people, I don't know anybody that retired with even $50,000 or $60,000. Why did you focus it so that it attacks those folks, and why did you need to bring in billionaire money to do it, when in fact that's what we got with Meg Whitman, and that's what we got all over the country. We got billionaires.
You're making a speech, don't you?
I am making a speech. The question is, why did he focus it that way? Why did why didn't you just target the people that really are spiking it and making all that money and costing the city so much? Why?
Well, thank you for your questions and your concerns. And I understand that you feel that this would be unfair, but in fact, it is fair. Why? Because the pension that you receive